Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert, consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion, delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest. Larry Kasanoff is with us, Threshold Entertainment. Welcome.
Thanks, Ron. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we're celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Siegel Radio. National Guard Day is today. And we do thank all of the men and women of every branch of service that we have. Doing a conservative talk show in California, you really understand what freedom of speech is. Maybe we have to teach that to some of the professors, though, at some of our colleges. But that's a different story. We'll get into that later. Today is National Violin Day. I've got a little violin, a little tiny one. I play for my kids every once in a while when they're whining about something. National Cocoa Day. Now, they didn't say hot cocoa. The picture obviously is hot cocoa. Obviously, Josh knows me well enough. He's got whipped cream on there. And I will not say whether or not there's any peppermint schnapps in that hot cocoa. Not going to talk about that, but if you know me, you know that answer as well. Hey, the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now is flat. It's up 0.43. S&P 500, pretty flat there too. 3.8 is up on the upside. NASDAQ up 5.8. Oh, now it's down up 3.31. None of it matters. Not until 11 o'clock when the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell starts talking or releasing their interest rate update. And thankfully, they're going to do nothing. I'll just tell you that right now. You don't even have to listen at 11 o'clock. We'll give that to you right now. They're not going to raise rates. They're not going to lower rates. But I will tell you this. There will be fireworks starting at 11:30 our time. Why? Well, that's when they start talking. They have their press conference. So they give their statement at 11. They tell us that they're not going to raise rates again. But then they have their press conference at 11 a.m. California, 11:30 a.m. California time. And when they start asking Jerome Powell questions, that's when the fireworks are going to start. That's when we'll see what happens with the markets. Then we'll know, are we going to have a Santa Claus rally? Or in my case, might be Hanukkah Harry, but that's a different story. But are we going to have a rally toward the end of the year? Or are we not going to have a rally toward the end of the year? What's going to happen with mortgage rates, interest rates? Now, the Federal Reserve does not control mortgage rates. I say that all the time, and I still have people as late as yesterday saying, well, the Federal Reserve said that they're telling us, not the Federal Reserve. This was a real estate agent said to me. I keep hearing that they're going to lower rates 6 times next year. No, they will not lower rates 6 times next year. I know there's some forecasters out there saying that that's what's going to happen. It will not. Federal Reserve meets every 6 weeks. They meet about 10 times a year. They're not going to lower every other meeting. They're not going to even start lowering, in my opinion, till probably the second quarter of the year. They won't do it at any of their early meetings. So but the commentary. What does Jerome Powell have to say about what the markets are going to do? And that's what's going to be the big issue. And one of the other issues that you and I might be looking at has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve. Oil, 69, 61 a barrel right now, up a bit. But gas prices in most of the country, not here in the formerly Golden State, we like taxes and fees too much, $4.71 a gallon. $4.71 is the average of a gallon of gasoline here. Josh is at $4.03, holding steady right there at $4.03. And envious as I am, my loan assistant, $2.67 a gallon is what she's paying for gasoline. $2.67 is the average. She's in Mississippi. Just like Shohei Ohtani, she doesn't want to pay taxes in California. Yes, I said it. Does anybody really believe that after 10 years with the Dodgers, Shohei is going to stay in California and pay California taxes on that big contract he's got? Not going to happen. I'm just throwing that out there that he's going to be gone. I don't know whether he's going to go to visit Josh in Nevada. Maybe he'll sign a contract with the Mariners. Washington State has no personal income tax. Puerto Rico, Florida, Texas. But he's not going to be staying in California when he's collecting that $68 million a year from the Dodgers. Just throw that out there for you. Hey, did you see the other one? We've got these idiots still coming to us from the formerly higher education bastions of success, Harvard University. I'm going to say, you couldn't pay me to send my child or grandchild to Harvard. Couldn't pay me. Of course, we're Jewish, so they might not want us there anyway. But, you get this, their president, Gay, says that that they can't say that Jewish genocide is against their code of conduct. I know you've got the freedom of speech, but code of conduct? And you've got 500 professors that stand up and say, she's right. And the board of trustees gives her a vote of confidence. That's what's supposed to be our higher education. Now, University of Pennsylvania, at least they got it right? They got rid of their president there. What's going to happen at MIT? I don't know. But it's nice seeing that people like Bill Ackman have come out, very, very influential. I mean, when you can move the entire bond market, the interest rate market, based on comments you make, you've got a lot of clout. Hey, he's saying that he's going to consider whether he's going to make any more donations or rescind donations to Harvard. Think about that. We've already seen that happening with a $50 million donor at Columbia University, a $100 million donor to University of Pennsylvania. Think about these things. And that's what we want to send our kids to learn from these people. Now, the president of Harvard, well, she does have a lot of president of Harvard, president of the United States. What do they have in common? Plagiarism. They both steal other people's work and don't give the attributes. Of course, then there's Hunter Biden. He was supposed to be going to appear in Congress today, and he didn't show up. Wonder what would have happened if Don Jr. didn't show up at his depositions. Just throw that out there. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, we're going to learn about success. How about operating at the end of a plank? We'll talk about that. The surprising trend in the number of homes coming onto the market. And yes, we've got the Mortgage Minute, which will be a little dull because we've got the Federal Reserve announcement coming up. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Hey there, friends. Wondering if now is the right time to buy a home? Or are you waiting for a bunch of foreclosures? The facts speak loud and clear. Defaults and foreclosures are down, sure. We might be headed towards a recession. But did you know interest rates typically drop and real estate values often go up during a recession? So what are you waiting for? Higher prices or higher payments? Don't navigate these waters alone. Connect with RonSiegelRadio.com today. That's RonSiegelRadio.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And don't forget, the Home Select product. It is something that is proprietary at Geneva. Have all the access to the equity in your property without all of the expenses. No traditional mortgage payment. Let's see what's going on in the world today, right now, in the mortgage world, every day at this time, OBMMI. They provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or APR. They just tell us locked rates, but they've got a 42% market share of all mortgage transactions nationwide. Mixed day yesterday. 30-year conforming loan down a little bit, 6.978. 30-year jumbo loan, that was up 7.333. 30-year FHA loan, 6.759, down a bit. The 30-year USDA loan, that's the rural areas, generally no down payment, 6.823. That was up ever so slightly, and flat on the day was the best loan in the market. That is the 30-year VA loan. We do appreciate the men and women of our military. 6.605 is that 30-year VA loan. And as I share with you all the time, if you want our market commentary, we get it out as early as we can. The data drives the time that we release it. rsrmarketminute.com. rsrmarketminute.com. Let's see what's going on today in the markets. That was yesterday's numbers. S&P 500 is up 4.75 as we speak. The 10-year Treasury is down 6 basis points. We like that. The mortgage-backed securities are up 3 basis points. We like that. Remember, the bonds always move the opposite direction of the rates. So when the bond is up, the mortgage-backed security bond is up 3 basis points. That tells you rates are down, but it's so small, it doesn't matter. And again, nothing really matters until after the Federal Reserve commentary at 11 o'clock California time. We did get producer price index today. This is the cost at the production level, the wholesale level. Inflation was flat in November, which was 1/10 below estimates. Year over year, producer inflation fell from a downwardly revised, once again, the revisions, revised 1.2% to 0.9%, which is even lower than the 1% expected. Core rate, for those that don't eat and don't need energy, that's flat, which was lower than the 0.2% anticipated. Year over year, core inflation fell from a downwardly revised 2.3 to 2%, while was expected to fall to 2.2%. Remember, this is at the wholesale level. When this gets passed on to the retailers or to the consumer level, the businesses in between, some are going to keep some of that money, some of them are going to pass it along, which will be helpful for our inflation numbers down the road. Mortgage Bankers Association released their mortgage application data for the week, showing interest rates fell. We talked about that a little earlier, about 5/8% higher than they were this time last year. Purchases up 4% from last year, down 18% year over year. Refinances rose 19% last week and are up 27% on a year over year basis. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Chat and learn time on Ron Siegel Radio. Larry Kasanoff is with us. Threshold Entertainment is the name of his company. Many of you may not have heard of that. He's got a book out, A Touch of the Madness, How to Be More Innovative in Work and Life by Being a Little Crazy. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, Ron.
Being a little crazy. Some of us have been told we're a lot crazy. And just looking at the first little bit of your book, you had to be a little crazy to take on some of those challenges that were given to you early on in your career.
Yeah, and still do. I think a touch of the madness is what you need for innovation. So why is innovation important? Because the current of the river of life will always try and draw you to the middle, everybody. And if you want to be great, you can't be in the middle. So the best way to swim against that current, to be innovative and creative, is with a touch of the madness. You have to give into your crazy side. It's apparent you already do, which is why you're successful. But I've noticed in the last few years, I'm a film producer. In the last few years, so many people are scared for one reason or another to embrace their madness, to embrace their crazy side, that crazy idea. What if they get judged for it or whatever? So I just wrote the book to try and inspire people to go for it. That crazy idea that your wife's going to kill you for, your husband's going to hate you, do it. That's the one.
Now you've got your background starts out fairly, exceptional, but normal. When I look at, Wharton School of Business, you got to be pretty good to go there, but that's kind of a normal path, isn't it?
Well, I wanted to be a movie producer since I was a little kid, and I had wonderful supportive parents, but they weren't rich and they didn't know anyone in Hollywood. And so I planned from really very, very young how to do all this. And I knew I had to get out of where I was in Boston, where I grew up. There's a school in Boston called Boston Latin School, which is the oldest high school in the country. Benjamin Franklin went there. But if you take a test and do well, you can go for free. So I did. I got in. It was terrible. It was like going to school in 1896. But you get into a good college. And I went to Cornell and I went to Wharton. And I figured if I did that, I'd meet people. I just took every internship I could. And through those internships, I got one at HBO when I was at Wharton. And then from that, I got my first job. So it was really something I actually planned, but it worked.
So that's a great segue as to what we do a lot on our program is having that plan and then executing it. That's a big issue right there. I mean, knowing what you wanted to do and getting into Boston Latin School first, that's knowing exactly those paths.
I literally walked around from little kidhood, walking to school and back to grammar school. I got to get into Latin school. Then from Latin school, I got to get into a good college. Not so much because they didn't have film schools, but I just knew I would meet people. And I think while I agree that the planning is important, but when I would say to people when I was 12 years old, I'm going to go to Hollywood and be a movie producer, they said, you're crazy. You don't know how to do. There's no way you can do that. So the you're crazy thing has been a theme my whole life and continues to be. But that is what I think you need to embrace rather than run from it and say, no, I'm not crazy. So what? Be a little crazy. You got to be creative.
There's nothing good, in my opinion, when we tell young people that you're crazy or you don't know what you're doing or you can't do that. From when my kids were very little starting, I followed suit. I was a disciplinarian, but I was brought up with the fact that if you want to be a trash truck driver, be the best one there is. If you want to be a movie producer, be the best one there is. If you want to be a baseball player, be the best one there is. Don't try and put our kids into these boxes and say you can't, because that kind of becomes self-fulfilling sometimes.
The you can't, I think, is terrible. I agree. The you're crazy, I think we should all take as a compliment.
Absolutely, because you're putting yourself out there saying, something. Not everybody's going to have the CV that you have. I just in reading a little bit of the book that I did, when somebody said to you, we're going to give you 80 productions to do, and you better make every one of them profitable. Some people are going to say that's a big tough challenge, but you embrace that.
Well, so I got a great first job in the middle of the home video boom, and I became head of production acquisitions for a company, an independent film studio. And yeah, I had to make 80 movies a year. Buy them, produce them, co-produce them, acquire them. We don't care. Don't lose money. So we made low budget horror movies and action movies with movie stars and rom-coms. And then we got a script called Platoon, which was not like this. Platoon was a very serious movie about the Vietnam War. I thought the director was brilliant. We had done one movie with him, although it wasn't a commercial success. It was great. I wanted to make it. And my boss, who was a great entrepreneur who owned the company, said, look, it's not what we do, but you're the head of production. It's up to you. But there's always a but. If it fails, you're fired. What do you want to do? This is my first job. I got this dream job. And I did all this soul searching. And I thought, well, I didn't get into the movie business to play it safe. So I greenlit Platoon. And when I first saw it, the first cut, I'm the only one to giggle his way through Platoon, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not getting fired. And it was so good that it won Best Picture that year. And a few months later, I ran into the director, in a bar in New York one night, and he brought me a drink, and he said, kid, I always liked you. You have a touch of the madness. And I thought, a touch of the madness? Is he calling me crazy? Am I crazy? And then I thought, well, my boss had a touch of the madness by giving a 25-year-old kid with no prior experience 80 picture film slate. Oliver, the director, had a touch of the madness by insisting that that movie get made only the way he wanted to. And I had a touch of the madness by betting the best job in the world on it. So that's when it hit me. A touch of the madness is not something to be run from. It's what you must embrace. And that has been the touchstone throughout my career. And it's still the way I cast. It's the way I find scripts. It's the way I decide whether to finance things or not. It's the way I buy art. I look in someone's eyes and I decide if they have a touch of the madness and I want to hire them. That's it. And so I just think people are getting away from that. And I don't want them to. I think that the more innovative and creative people are, the better the world is. So I'm trying to encourage people to go for your madness, embrace your madness.
Before we dig into that part of it, and I really want to, Larry, explain that a little bit to me. So you're a young man in 1987,
yeah,
and they're handing you a $6 million budget. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. In 1987, that was astronomical.
No, so the budgets for our movies were all around $6 million or under. That was still a low budget movie. I mean, it wasn't as low budget as today, but that was still a low budget movie. The numbers were high in volume because we made so many movies. But fortunately, by the way, remember how they said don't lose money? I didn't. Virtually all the movies for years were profitable. So we had a good streak in terms of that. But betting on a movie like Platoon was completely outside of our purview. That wasn't what we were supposed to do. The people. It wasn't a genre movie, action, sci-fi, comedy. The actors in it were fantastic, and they all became stars, but they weren't stars. The director became a superstar, but he wasn't recognized as one. I mean, he already was one, but he wasn't recognized as one before that. That was the bet, and that crazy mad bet. You're crazy. You're going to bet your job. That won Best Picture. So Platoon wouldn't exist if it weren't for a touch of the madness.
Interesting. Crazy bets. We're going to talk about that more when we come back. And stepping outside your comfort zone. How much are you stepping outside your comfort zone to get ahead? Or are you just kind of muddling through the water and wondering why someone else is passing you by? You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. More with Larry Kasanoff when we come back. The surprising trend in the number of homes coming onto the market and more. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. The surprising trend in the number of homes coming onto the market. If you're thinking about moving, it's important to know what's happening in the housing market. Here's an update on the supply of homes currently for sale. Whether you're buying or selling, the number of homes in your area is something you should pay attention to if you want to know exactly how many are available in your area. Start off here, rsrlistana.com, rsrlistana.com. You can go right there. I know it's going to bring up data for Anaheim, California, but you can put your zip code in there and it'll tell you exactly what's going on in your zip code. rsrlistana.com. In the housing market, there are regular patterns that happen every year called seasonality. Spring is the peak home buying season and also when the most homes are typically listed for sale. Homes coming in onto the market are known in the industry as new listings. In the second half of each year, the number of new listings typically decreases as the pace of sales slows down. We're going to show you a graph from Realtor.com to provide a visual of this seasonality. It shows how this year, the black line, is breaking from the norm. We've got you can see the way that pretty plainly right on there. Looking at this graph, three things become clear. 2017 to 2019, the blue and gray lines follow the same general pattern. These years were very typical in the housing market, and their lines on the graph show normal seasonal trends. Starting in 2020, the data broke from the normal trend. The big drop down in 2020, orange line, signals when the pandemic hit, many sellers paused their plans to move. 2021, green line, again, for those of you watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feed, you're seeing these colors, the green line. And 2022, the red line, follow the normal trend a bit more, but still are abnormal in their own ways. This year, the black line is truly unique. The steep drop off in new listings that usually occurs this time of year has not happened. In 2023, if 2023 followed the norm, the line representing this year would look more like the dotted black line. Instead, what's happening is the number of new listings is stabilizing. And there are even more new listings coming to the market this year compared to the same time last year. What does this mean for you? For buyers, new listings stabilizing is a positive sign. It means you have a more steady stream of options coming onto the market and more choices for your next home than you would have at the same time last year. This opens up possibilities and allows you to explore a variety of homes that suit your needs. For sellers, while new listings are breaking seasonal norms, inventory is still well below where it was before the pandemic. If you look again at the graph, you'll see the black line for this year is still lower than normal, meaning inventory is not going up dramatically and prices are not heading for a crash. With less competition from other sellers than you'd see in a more typical year, your house has a better chance to be in the spotlight and attract eager buyers. Bottom line, whether you're on the hunt for a new home or thinking of selling, now might be the perfect time to make your move. If you have questions or concerns about the availability of homes in your local area, give me a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Continue our conversation this morning. Larry Kasanoff is with us. Threshold Entertainment is the company. A touch of the madness. How to become more innovative in work and life by being a little crazy is the name of the book. Producer and filmmaker, a great thought leader is what I'm seeing here in listening to Larry on how to get outside the box. So many people, we get this paradigm: go to school, go to college, have babies, go get married, have babies, go to work, retire, die. Is that really what you want from life? Maybe you want a little bit more. Maybe you don't want to have the exact same things that everybody's had in your family history. We had somebody here earlier this week. He was the first generation immigrant, first person in his family that went to college. Are you stepping outside that box? Well, let's talk to Larry Kasanoff about that, because being just a little bit crazy. And Larry, I looked at one of the commentaries that you had in the book, and it was a touch of madness and how you create it, implement it, and make it thrive. And those 3 steps. And, I've done things completely different in my world, but some of those are kind of challenging, getting out, I'll wear a crazy sweater, a crazy shirt, a crazy hat, but, send me to a networking event and I'm standing in the corner. That's probably not what you would recommend for me, is it?
Well, so what you're referring to is when I say, okay, I touch the madness, how do you do it? There's 3 steps: create, ask, play, cap. And it's simple, but there's some, organizational things under those. But this is not a book or a talk about PowerPoints. It's very simple. And create, ask, play. So you create your great idea. How do you do that? And then ask. What does ask mean? If I were to ask you and your audience right now, if you could call anybody in the world who's alive and ask them one question, who would you call and what would you ask? And most people say, gee, that's a good question. I don't know. And the reason they don't know is because they think they can't, but they can. And I'm encouraging them to do so. So here's an example. During the pandemic, we made an animated movie with Universal called Bobbleheads, characters whose heads bobble. And we wanted Cher, the iconic Cher, to play bobblehead Cher in the movie. So her likeness, but she'd never done an animated movie. But we called, we asked, and long story short, she was in the movie and she did great. Of course. People Magazine interviewed her when the movie came out and said, Cher, you've never done an animated movie. Why did you do this one? And she said, I've never done an animated movie because no one ever asked me before. I did. So can you imagine if Cher, one of the most iconic women on earth, is sitting there and no one ever asked her, in your life, who are you not calling and asking something of because you're thinking, oh, they won't do it, everyone must ask them, but who knows? So the easiest way to jump into the madness is with this ask. First of all, I would encourage you to say, well, who would you call? And work your way up to that. But you don't have to start maybe with someone as famous as Cher if that's intimidating to you. Start with Uncle Harry and ask him why he never comes to Thanksgiving. I mean, whatever it is, just do it. And what if they say no? So what? And what if you at that next party with your big, green moose sweater on, walk up to someone and ask them a question? So what's the worst that's going to happen? People say no to me all the time. They still say no to me. I made 200-something movies. I think, who's going to say no to me? You know what? Turns out tons of people, lots of people still say no to me. Nothing changes. So do it. And you'll find that the world becomes a more open place and that madness becomes more accessible. And the thinking out of the box becomes, it's like a muscle and it becomes, you can do it. So try to ask someone, figure out I challenge you and your audience to say, who do I want to call, and work your way up to it. But today, don't wait, call somebody. And now you call them, email them. It's so easy now. When we were kids, it was actual phone. Now you can text people, you can DM them. There's so many ways to get to somebody.
It's amazing. Something that you said right there, as you said, it kind of resonated with me is, we get so caught up in our own day-to-day life and routines. We don't take a few minutes and do exactly what you just said is, who would I, if I had the opportunity, who would I call and what would I ask them? Isn't that just a matter of sitting back and thinking, how do I get to where I want to be?
But you see, you do have the opportunity. You just call them. And if they don't take your call, I had a wonderful professor at Cornell my freshman year who taught me this. So I've been doing it long before I was a movie producer. When I was at Wharton, I had to I had to do a thesis on Warner Brothers. So I just called the CEO of Warner Brothers as a student at Warner. He called me back. We talked for an hour. I stupidly got so into Warner Brothers, I wound up taking my student loan and buying Warner stock, which I don't recommend. But nevertheless, it turned out. But the point was that just as a kid, as a student, the CEO of Warner Brothers called me back and talked for an hour. So it doesn't just happen to movie producers. So what you said is interesting because you said, we have the opportunity. Everyone has the opportunity. So the person might not answer you. So call someone else.
That's and when you did that, you had to go through a lot of work to try and find that person.
Yeah,
right?
Now it's easy.
Now you go on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and you can send almost anybody in the world. You could go and send a message to Elon Musk right now. It's pretty simple.
Why not?
Probably a bad example because he owns the social media platform, but
it's actually a good example because he owns the social media platform. So it's easy. And
sure.
Why not? So you have to develop this muscle of thinking outside the box, of embracing the madness, but you can. It's not out of your grasp.
So if somebody's new and wanted to get in, then you could basically, from what you're saying here, before I get into that, this really fits for anybody that just wants to excel, doesn't it?
Yeah. The best way to excel is to get out of the middle. But I'm telling you, that current of the river of life I mentioned is going to always try and draw you there. What you just mentioned about the typical life, well, I got to get married, I got to do this. It's always going to pull you to the middle. But your audience, your customers want the new and the different. So the middle is okay. You can live there if that's what you want, but it's not okay if you want to be great. Because the new and the different, like that story I told about Platoon, that was new and different. That's why it was great. That's one of the reasons. And so that's what you have to do. You have to get out of the middle, and the best way to do that is to embrace your madness. Just go for it. The third thing I say, create, ask, play. Also sounds funny because I think you have to try and live as much as you can in a state of play. My dog is the happiest creature I know. He's convinced everyone loves him and life's a game. It's not a bad philosophy. And when you say play, I don't mean, don't take it seriously. I think, the baseball player or professional soccer player, they play, but they play hard. But in a state of play, you will make better decisions. You'll be more creative and you'll think of things in a way you wouldn't otherwise. And we think we can't do that. When I made the first Mortal Kombat movie, no one had ever made a hit movie from a video game. And I really bet my career on it. And people told me, again, I was crazy and so forth. And we were shooting in Thailand and we needed a boat. And we just didn't have it just wasn't available, the kind of boat we needed for a shot. But nearby was one gorgeous luxury hotel called the Amanpuri, and they have a yacht. So I thought, well, we could get the Amanpuri yacht. And long story short, we got it we got it all within the budget. I spent 3 days on a yacht in southern Thailand. And when I first got on the yacht, I thought, can I do this? I mean, this is so fun. But I thought, well, why shouldn't it be fun? I mean, there was nothing, untoward about it. There was no boondoggle we were pulling. It was in the budget. It was a great boat. We got a great shot. But the crew was so happy that that's what we got to do. We got better shots than we otherwise would have. So you can play in your game too. You can play at work too. When was the last time you at work or you said to your staff, you know what? It's National Cocoa Day. So are we all planning to go out for hot chocolate today? Why not? You can. It'll take you 20 minutes and your whole staff will relax and someone will think up a great real estate deal on the way home.
Love that idea. And I was just looking, it's kind of funny. I was just looking at that chapter in your book also, where you talk about parties and whatnot. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. We're going to continue our conversation with Larry Kasanoff today. We're talking about, think outside the box. He says, be crazy. I think he's got something right there. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We're going to be back giving away a trip. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. As always, I went over time talking today, but we're going to still give away our trip. We're just going to do it within the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomeselect.com, rsrhomeselect.com. Great proprietary loan from our friends at Geneva Financial. It's a first position home equity line of credit. So you have access to all of the equity or a lot of the equity in your property. And when you're not using it, you're not paying a thing, but you've got it available to you. So what are we doing? We're going to give away a trip. I love giving away things. It is our season of giving at Ron Siegel Radio. Your choice. 6 days, 5 nights in Hawaii, 4 days, 3 nights in Nashville, 4 days, 3 nights in Lake Tahoe. Taxes and fees, or transportation taxes and fees are not included. You have until the 20th of December, 7 p.m. to claim your prize. What's going to happen in just a minute, if you're watching us on any of our socials, you're actually seeing our wheel of names. I have no idea who's on there, but I do know that it's anybody in our database is there. Josh is going to push the button here in just a second, and it's going to come up with a name. Where it stops, nobody knows. But somebody's going to win that trip. Mikey Sanchez, you're the winner. Mikey Sanchez, you are the winner of the trip. Again, 6 days, 5 nights Hawaii, 4 days, 3 nights Nashville, 4 days, 3 nights Lake Tahoe, taxes, transportation and fees not included. Mikey Sanchez, you have until December 20th, 7 p.m. to claim your prize. Let's continue our conversation today. We are chatting with Larry Kasanoff, Threshold Entertainment. I found that fascinating, Larry. Over 200 movies. You only hear about people making a movie every now and then. You've made over 200 of them.
Well, that's as a producer or as a studio head. And so as a studio head, you make more movies, but you tend to be a little less involved in each of them.
Okay, so one of the I end up, and I don't know if you know David Meltzer or not. David wrote a book, Connected to Goodness, and he let me steal a line out of his book. And every shows for maybe 10 years, I've stolen this from him. I shouldn't say it's stolen it because he gave it to me. He told me I could use it. And it says, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And then I'm looking at your chapter here. I think it's chapter 4. Make play work for you.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that's what I was saying before the break, that in a state of play, you're more creative, you're more open to new ideas, you're more likely to embrace the madness, and it's just a better way to live. So I think that in your work life, in your daily life, and whatever you do, make play part of it. We think we can't do it. We think we can't go out for cocoa on National Cocoa Day today, but we can. You have 20 minutes. My dog I take to work every day, and when he wants to go for a walk, you begin to think, well, I'm so busy. Why am I so busy? I can't spend 10 minutes and take my little buddy for a walk. Of course you can. And the more you play like that, the more you infuse a sense of play into your life, you'll make better decisions. And that's what I try and encourage people to do.
And it's fascinating because throughout your book, it looks like you're talking about the same concept in different scenarios, right? So it's go ahead.
You can read the whole book in 2 hours. I figured if I, a movie producer, was going to write a book, it had to be no longer to read or listen to than it takes to watch a movie. And so there's no charts, there's no graphs, there's no PowerPoint presentations, there's no lectures. It's just fun stories from the movie business to illustrate my points of create, ask, play. And the whole point is that when you put the book down, hopefully you're more inspired. There are so many people who say to me, even after I do shows like yours, who call me up and say, I've always wanted to start a bakery, or I have this idea for a movie, or I don't know, why can't I paint? I love paint. And I'm like, so do it. And if I make them a little more inspired to do it, that's great. You were very kind and said I'm a thought leader. I only have one thought. Be more creative, embrace the madness, go for your wild, crazy idea. I think the world has gotten too conservative about things like that. People always tell me, I'm scared, I can't say it. What if I get canceled? What if? No, go for it. Embrace the madness. And that's my one idea.
Something, and I think some people like me kind of have to expand our vision. When you talk about being creative, I tell people all the time, I have no creativity at all. But in this sense, creativity means just it sounds to me like it just means getting out of your own way.
What do you mean you have no creativity? You told me before we started that you went from working real estate full-time to starting a radio show. What the hell do you think is that? That's creativity. You have to write a movie. You can be creative in the cement business. I just mean be innovative. When you think of if you Google, industries that need more innovation, a lot come up. If you look at what you just talked about with education. It strikes me that we got to do something to innovate how higher education is going on. There's a million things that need innovation. So what I'm really talking about is innovation. I use the movie business as an example because it's more colorful, and that's what I know. But you can apply it to anything.
Explain what this means to me. If you thought landing was bad, takeoff is worse.
So I do a lot of action movies, and we were looking for an idea, and as well ago, and we had a lot of contacts in the military, and someone and I said, it'd be fun, be interesting research. Let's see if we can land in a U.S. aircraft carrier at sea and spend a day there. I was just sort of talking, and then someone actually arranged it, and then I found myself, in Long Beach, wearing a flak suit and all kinds of crash helmets about to get on one of these jets. And, you get these instructions if you go in the water, if you do this. And I'm thinking, is this too much madness? Maybe not a touch of the madness, but a ton of the madness. And I was scared, but I mean, and it's crazy. And when you land in an aircraft carrier, I didn't know this. You don't come in for a nice sloping landing like, when you're coming in on British Air from LAX, because in case you're followed, the jet just flies around at full height. And when it sees the aircraft carrier, it just nosedives straight down. So it can't be followed in its trajectory going down. And then in the last minute, pulls up and does a controlled crash into the deck. So that, and no one really explains that to you. They call it carrier brake. And so when you get out, but it was so impressive. It was so incredible. And at lunch, the Admiral briefed a few visitors we had and said, does anyone have any questions? And I thought it'd be, so I said, yeah, can we go water skiing after lunch? Which I thought was hysterical, but they didn't think that was so funny. And then what happens is when the pilots, because that's who you meet when you're the movie guy and you meet all the pilots and stuff, and they say to you, oh no, landing. If you think landing was bad, taking off. Oh no. It's much worse. And landing was really scary. And so I'm thinking, much worse. Maybe I can row home. You have no idea where you are. You're in the Pacific Ocean. They don't know where you are. Maybe I could row home. Maybe they have helicopters. But there's no way off the jet. And everyone tells you that. And when you take off, it isn't easy, but it's actually much easier. So you realize they're just screwing with you to kind of psych you out. And you realize they're playing too. Like my joke about the water skiing. So I was trying to play with them. They were trying to play with me. But the point is, when you watch a U.S. aircraft carrier for 40 minutes to take off and landing exercises, which I did during the day and during the night, I don't care who you are. You're made of stone if you didn't have pride running through you. It's incredible. And so you think, so these guys were playing. They had time for a joke. I had time for a joke. If you can do it there, you can do it anywhere.
That's amazing. And I used to do our show. We used to broadcast from the ESPN studios down in Miramar. And exactly what you're saying. We were about a block or two from the military base. And if you don't have pride for that, you should be going somewhere else, because you're very, very thankful that they're on our side.
You bet. Yeah.
Great. Appreciate your coming on with us. The name of the book is A Touch of Madness. I'm assuming it's available on Amazon.
A Touch of the Madness. Yeah, it's on Amazon, Apple, every place, Barnes and Noble. It's on Audible. I had to audition to read my own book on Audible, and I thought it'd be really funny if I didn't get it. And someone was a better me than me, but I got it. But it's everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be on Audible this afternoon. We'll have it read. We'll be listening to it this weekend. If you follow us, we're always on Balboa Island over the weekend. So especially if I can listen to it. Say again?
I love Balboa Island.
Yeah. So we'll be over there listening to A Touch of the Madness, how to be more innovative in work and life by being a little crazy, by Larry Kasanoff. Go get your copy today anywhere you get great books. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean, who are engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.